Greetings and welcome. My name is Ryan O'Rourke from Stay Creative Painting. I truly hope you enjoy today's 10-minute painting. And if you have any questions or inquiries regarding today's tutorial, please leave me a comment in the comment section down below or send me a message over on the Facebook page. I'm always here and happy to help. Speaking of help, if you'd like assistance with the drawing process, I also offer the digital sketch for this 10-minute painting lesson and many others over on the Patreon page, in addition to reference photos and over a dozen hour-long painting lessons as well. So if any of that interests you, go check it out. Again, I am here to help. And now let's jump into today's 10-minute painting lesson. We're going to begin here today with a medium-sized round damp brush. Here I have a fairly equal mixture of titanium white and primary blue, and I'm applying it to the sky in a bit of a circular stroke. Now I'm applying it to the middle of the sky where I intend to put my moon, then I'm going back to my palette, grabbing a slightly darker mixture. This one has a little bit of additional primary blue in it, and I'm applying it right around my initial application. I'm doing it in that same rounded stroke, and then I'm beginning to blend the two together. Now the goal here is to render a gradient from one to the other, have them blend fairly smoothly, but I don't want it to be entirely smooth. I still want a little bit of my rounded brush stroke showing through so that the sky is a little bit more fun, so that it's a little bit more dynamic, so that there's a little bit of a swirl going along in the sky, and it's just going to give it a little bit of extra life. Now from there I'm going to go back to my palette and I'm going to grab an even darker mixture of blue. This one is a mixture of Mars Black and Primary Blue. I'm beginning to apply it to the top left-hand corner of the canvas, and then I'm beginning to blend it around our first and second application, and eventually back into them as well. So I'm doing this still with that round stroke. I'm keeping the sky again dynamic, but I'm able to blend this pigment into the other two because I started off with a fairly damp brush. And that is essentially allowing me to extend the wet life of my paint so it stays wet longer, so I can blend it into other paint more easily, and it allows me to drag my paint farther as well. So that's essentially what I'm doing there. As you can see, it's already starting to create a nice glowing effect. Now from there I'm taking this brush and I'm kind of working around my tree, and this tree was drawn with a white colored pencil, and it was done so because I'm working on a black canvas board. It's worth noting that the canvas board did not actually come black. I painted it with a Mars Black, then I let it fully dry and I began this lesson here. So don't worry about having to go out and find a black canvas. You can make one very simply. However, make sure that it is entirely dry. Now from there I'm going to switch over to my medium-sized square-headed brush. Here I have a fairly even mixture of primary blue and titanium white, very similar to our initial application in the sky, and I'm essentially creating a highlight on the edges of my mountains. I'm using this brush because it can carry a good amount of paint, and because the sharp edge is fantastic for working around subjects with sharp edges, such as these mountains right here. Then I'm going to switch over to the smaller square-headed brush, and I'm going to begin kind of dragging that paint inwards. I'm using the brush for the same reasons as the last, except this one it's a little bit more detail-oriented and intricate. So I'm beginning to blend this paint inwards, and I'm allowing it to dissipate as we get down towards the bottom of the mountain. I want the tops to be the brightest, as they'll have the most kind of reflected light on them, and then the backs and the bottoms of them are going to be more cast in shadow, and the light is going to get to them as easily. So try to keep that in mind when you're working on that. Then from there, I'm switching over to my smaller round-headed brush. As you can see, I have a lot of water on it, very small amount of titanium white paint. I'm peeling back the bristles and I'm launching that paint at the canvas. It's a very easy way of rendering a great number of stars very quickly. They're going to arrive in clusters. They're going to be of varying sizes, so it'll be very interesting. And occasionally, if you hold your brush right, you can also get this shooting star effect like I have in the bottom left-hand corner of our sky. Now I'm going to switch over to an older square-headed brush. This is one where I've kind of peeled the bristles back, so when I make a tapping motion with it, I get all of these different implications on the canvas. The same idea kind of followed in the sky with the stars. Here I'm just trying to create a lot of intricacy, a lot of very small markings, and do so in a relatively quick amount of time. You can make one of these very simply by taking your own square-headed brush, peeling it back, and then just a tapping motion will do a very similar effect. Now, it's worth noting that I just applied a very dark green. There was a mixture of Mars black, primary yellow, primary blue, and I was just getting a base layer and getting an idea of where I wanted my trees so I could put in my river here. Now, the river is done with the smaller square-headed brush because of the sharp, fine edges. I used the same color that we used for the edges of the mountain and for the first application in the sky. That way it's cohesive and it looks like we have a lot of nice reflective light going on around here. Then I'm switching back to the older square-headed brush, this time with a slightly brighter green. So I'm using less Mars black in this mixture, and I'm tapping this along the edges of the trees that are closest to the light, the areas that are not cast in as much shadow, and I'm simply adding this highlight. Here I'm going to create a gradient, so I have the black from the background, then I have a darker underlayer, now I have a brighter layer on top of that, and I'm just going to continue building it as you can see here. So through that process we eventually arrive at depth, because depth in paintings is essentially created through a highlight, a midtone, and a dark tone. If you can kind of wrap those values around a subject, you can achieve something quite nice. So that's essentially what I'm doing there. Then I'm switching over to that smaller square-headed brush yet again. It's a fantastic brush. As you can see, we've used it in the mountains, we've used it in the river, now we're using it in this tree. And here I'm using it with a mixture of titanium white and burnt umber. I'm applying it to the side of the tree, which is going to be receiving a lot of light from the moon, and I'm using a fairly soft application with it. I'm trying to ensure that my bristles on my brush don't expand too much as I apply this pigment, and the more pressure you apply on your brush, the more your bristles will expand and the less of a detailed stroke you'll be able to achieve. I'm also using a fair amount of water in this application to ensure that each stroke is nice and clean. If we went into this without any water at all, we'd probably get a little bit more of a gritty effect. You'd see the tooth of the canvas, and while that can be a desirable effect, especially in rock and that sort of thing, here I want it to be much more clean. You could also do a bit of a textured bark with a tapping motion, but here again I just wanted something that was nice and soft. So that's how I began. Then I grabbed a mixture of burnt umber and Mars black. I began applying that to the other side of the tree, the area that isn't going to be receiving as much light, and I started to fill that in as well, covering both the sketch with the white colored pencil and blending it into the highlight and achieving a midtone in between the two. So with that, now yet again, just like in our trees, we have our highlight, our midtone, and our darker tone. The three combine to render a kind of form of depth, right, around it, and we yet again move back to the older square-headed brush where we begin to create more foliage, this time in the foreground. So much like the smaller square-headed brush, the older square-headed brush also has a lot of use as we're using it to create the implication of large trees in the background, but we're also using it to create the implication of foliage in the foreground as well. So I'm kind of using the same technique that I did before. I'm starting with a darker base layer, moving to a mid layer, and then I'm going to my highlight, as you can see, all done with this tapping effect. Now it's worth noting that you don't want to apply too much pressure with this tapping effect, otherwise the bristles do expand yet again and you get a lot of different line work, where what we want is just a myriad of little dots and implications on the canvas. So I'm doing that up there, then I'm moving back down into the forest area and I'm applying some additional highlights, as you can see. By taking one color from one area of the painting and moving it into another, you very quickly and easily achieve a cohesive nature within the painting. You rarely want to apply a color to a single area of the painting and then no other. So that's essentially what I'm doing. I'm also allowing portions sections of this highlight to overlap the river, and I'm also letting the bottom areas of the forest to get darker and darker. So if you look along the edge of the river, you'll kind of look upwards from it and you'll see almost a black, and then you see a dark green, and then you see a light green, and it builds up that way because behind all of these trees you will get a little bit of a shadow. The light can't work its way through that much dense foliage, and that's why it's going to build up like that. Now I'm going to go back to the smaller square-headed brush and begin applying a highlight to the edge of my tree. Here you can see that I'm using a bit of a kind of stroke effect, but I'm also interjecting a little bit of a tap as well, just to create some interesting pieces within the bark. Maybe it's knots, maybe it's pieces of bark that are protruding, but one way or the other we're getting something much more interesting. The tree is also really beginning to pop with all of this moonlight hitting it as well. Now of course you can make it very subtle without that added highlight, but if you want it to stand out a little bit more and really show in the foreground as one of your main subjects, then the added highlights do help quite a bit. Now I'm going back to where the moon is going to be, and I'm adding some additional highlights. I'm using my round-headed brush because that's what we used initially. It's going to work cohesively with that same type of stroke. Then I'm using my finger to soften it a little bit. Finger painting, not dead. Still a big fan of it. You don't have to be in kindergarten to find use in it, and I use it in a lot of these 10+ minute lessons just because it's a very easy tactile way of working with your paint. There isn't this barrier that is the brush. You know exactly what you're doing and how much pressure you're applying to that pigment. So now I'm just kind of redrawing in the moon, as you can see, and I'm building it up slowly so that I can get this nice glow from the moon. Acrylics dry semi-transparently. A lot of this white and lighter blue that we're applying you can see through, and you can see the black. So we need to build up that highlight over a number of layers and let them dry so that we're not getting anything too muddy. That's so important when you're building highlight and you feel like you have a very bright color on your palette, a very bright color on your brush, but when you go to apply it to your canvas, you get something a little bit darker. That's probably because you just have too much paint on your painting, and that highlight is blending and mixing and it's becoming transparent, and you can see the darker layer underneath. So if that's an issue you find you're having, let it dry entirely, come back to it, and then re-add that highlight, as I'm doing here with the highlight in the sky, the glow, and the moon. So I'm slowly just shaping that into a fairly circular shape, and then I'm going back down into the foliage and just drawing a little bit more of that with that older square-headed brush. Here I'm essentially just going back and doing a little bit of that detail work, adding some highlights into the water and taking care of all of that. But there we have it. There is our acrylic painting lesson. I truly hope you enjoyed. I hope you feel like you've learned something. If you'd like to learn more, there is a link in the description to my ebook, Acrylics for Beginners. It essentially teaches you the basics and everything you need to know before you jump into your first painting. Also worth noting, if you liked this lesson but you'd like more of it, if you'd like to also see my color palettes when we're mixing with water, all the things we don't have time for in these regular lessons, you will find a link in the description to my Patreon, where I offer hour-long lessons with digital sketches to all of these 10-minute lessons and those hour-long lessons as well. So go check that out if you're interested. I post every Saturday. I hope to see you next Saturday, and above all, as always, stay creative.